Hello there, darlings. It's your girl, Vivica A. Fox here. I am the director of the new film Through Her Eyes, starring Nikki Michaud and Alea White.
And I'm Tressa Azarel Smallwood. I'm the producer of Through Her Eyes. And together, Vivica and I have partnered with BET Her. This initiative is designed to bring women who are typically seen in front of the camera, behind the camera, so that we can showcase films that will bring awareness to mental health. Let's go.
Well, I am so blessed that I have produced over 30 films. So when I was approached by my agent, Sheila Leger and Tressa from Mega Minds to direct, wow, was this a brand new hat for me? I was very grateful that it was a short film, but I enjoyed stepping or sitting into the director's chair this time. I definitely feel like it's the next chapter for my career, and I was so hands-on. I had no idea how hands-on I would be, from picking our favorite colors. That's why Tressa and I today are rocking purple. Purple was one of the colors, purple and yellow, which stands for royalty, and the yellow is for sunshine. That I picked everything from the pillows to the drapes to the time of day to the hairstyles to the actresses, and I was very blessed that two wonderful actresses that I've had the pleasure of working with before, Nikki Michaud and Alea White, were available to come and play the lead characters in Through Her Eyes, and they just nailed it for me.
Awesome. Love it. And I think for me, operating as a producer, the script, number one, is my playground, right? It's what I love most, digging into the content. I'm a former book publisher, and in that world, all we do is look at the content and we say, okay, how can we develop this better? How can we make the characters, present them in a certain way? So when you're moving that type of content over into the film industry and putting on that hat as a producer, it works really well for me because I know the logistics. I can make sure we make our days. I can make sure everything else works, but I still know that content really well. So it works for me, and I absolutely love it.
It was really easy for Tressa and I to develop a partnership. We're kind of on the same page in life. We work hard. We're all about being professional, being organized, and we had a lot of phone calls. I think communication when you're developing a project is essential, to pick up the phone if you don't understand something. I mean, we did a lot of emails, but mainly we had a lot of phone conversations that we was like, hey girl, forget that email, pick up that phone, let me holler at you real quick.
Right. What else, Vivica, I think was really important in the very beginning. I'm big on managing people's expectations, right? Yes. So I remember calling you and saying, hey, this is how this project works, because here's the reality. Someone like Vivica, who is moving and shaking in the industry, she's working with a lot of different networks, and at every network, there's a different plan in place. So I was able to share with her, over here, this is how it's done. Mm-hmm. I would love you to come and work with me. And she asked all the questions, right? And she remembered everything. At BET Her, they don't want any shaky cameras. And she remembered that from day one. And she said to me, oh no, we're not doing that. They don't want shaky cameras. Mm-hmm. So, like she said, we make an amazing team, but I think it's because we understand business, number one. So yes. Whether you have your director hat on or whether you are, in your acting mode, you have to understand the business. And I think that's where we really bond on being really great businesswomen.
Directing for me has fallen into my life at the right chapter of my life. Like I said, I've been producing films. I have a franchise called So Wrong, It's Right. And I've had a lot of people ask me, so when are you going to start directing? Everyone's directing right now, from Regina King to Debbie Allen, Tasha Smith, my sister from Empire. Taraji directed an episode of Empire before we ended on our 6th season. So for me, directing definitely is the next chapter of my career. I know I make an excellent director, an actor's director, because I know what it's like to be in front of the camera. I know what it's like to produce. So I can bring a lot of experience to make my actors comfortable. I am very time sensitive to make sure that we make our days and get our shots and that we keep things professional and moving. So directing has definitely come at the right time in my life. I'm ready for it.
For me, Vivica was effective in a lot of ways. The two things that really made me smile every day was that she was able to coach her actors. She knew it. She knows what an actor needs, right? This is what she does all the time. And so they were very comfortable with her. They had that guidance and that leadership from her. The other great thing is it's all about the money, honey. And Vivica was watching the money, okay? At one point, I heard her say, "Look, you on my clock. You wasting my money." And I said, "That's my girl. That's my girl." So I know I need her in my life directing a whole lot more because she gets it.
What I was able to take as an actress into my director's role is that I could tell when lines were not working for my actors, when moments felt forced, that I was like, hey, I was able to have a table read before, because we shot this film in 2 days. So it was quick and we had to get in there. So I was really blessed that that I had some prep time, that I discussed. I actually took my lead actresses, out to lunch here in Los Angeles before we went to Washington, D.C. to shoot the project, which I really think helped break the ice, because they had some emotional scenes and they had a ton of dialogue. So I was really blessed to kind of, as an actress, know, why don't we have these guys get together first, these ladies get together first and break the ice so that they know each other, that they can talk about what lines are working for them, what lines aren't working for them. Then that way, when we come to play and shoot all of these scenes in 2 days, we were totally prepared. And it wasn't like, this isn't working for me. I think I need to go to my trailer, to my dressing room and be a brat, because I didn't have time for that. So we just literally dove in. So as an actress, I was able to, as a director, make sure that my actors were completely comfortable and ready to deliver. Any actors that are ready to become directors for a film, do your work, do the work. Please understand that when you're getting into that director's chair, what is going to be required of you. It is literally your baby. I mean, everything. I mean, it's like it's through your eyes. Literally, you create it. You create the moments. You create the atmosphere. And a happy set is a productive set.
Yeah, I would say number one, get your feet wet with someone that you trust. Get on their set. Don't start off being the main producer, because it's a lot of weight on you. Very, very stressful. So I would say learn. For me, when I first started producing, I made sure that I got the best of the best on my set first, and I followed their lead. That way I didn't jump in there to jeopardize, any of the set, the film. I wanted to make sure that I was watching others who knew what they were doing first. I would say by the time I released my third film, I was ready to jump up and become one of the lead producers. At that point, I had made all my mistakes. I spent a lot of time saying, okay, you know what, the next time these are the things that I can do better. I also think that, when you're saying that you want to start your production company, you have to spend some time also understanding what that really means. I meet a lot of people who say, I want to be a producer, and then they say, but I also want to have my production company. There is a difference in the two. When it's your production company, you are responsible. You're the legal and financial responsible party. So do your homework to make sure you understand what you're getting yourself into, because it's great on that side, but it does come with extra responsibility that you may not have if you are just walking in the producer lane.
Tressa, I'll let you go first.
You had 3 hours. Yeah, there are so many things. Number one, I wish I understood when I first started about the financial risks that were involved with producing films. Because for me, I own all of my content that I produce on my own. The content that I produce with the network, obviously they are the owners, but I'm still responsible for all of the money. So I think that if I had a chance to do it over again, or to the people out here who are really, looking to produce for others and have your own production company, make sure that you are studying the money portion, because that's where most producers mess up. You can have a great line producer, but if you are just letting them go out on their own, you're still responsible. You're the responsible party. So I would just say spend more time learning that money, because if I had done that in the beginning, I wouldn't have made any mistakes. Now I got it. Nothing is getting by me now. Not one quarter, right? If it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense.
And I'll piggyback off of Tressa's answer as well too. I was taught a long time ago, there's two words of the business that we're in called show business. And the more that you know about the business that goes on behind the show, the more productive you will be. Because, you when you want to direct or you want to do a project, you start thinking of all these grandiose ideas. Oh, I want to do this, I want to do that. But that budget will pull you right on back and be your reality check every time. So know the budget, that you're working with. Know what you can do and what you cannot. And I love that Tressa, like she said, it's good to be honest and communicate and say, this is what we can do. And then to try to be as productive as you can in that zone. Because if you do a good job, trust and believe the budgets will get bigger and better.
That's a good one. That's a good one. So I would say for me, when I think about it, I think that for too long, Black women have felt that they could not get certain positions. And now I've seen people out there, one of the notes that I get often if I'm speaking on a panel, they say, so you mean to tell me you own your own production company, you own all of these films that you finance yourself, and they are seen on major networks. They're in disbelief. So I always say, you know what, it's important for me to share my story and what I've been able to accomplish, because for some reason, a lot of people still out there feel that it's not possible. So I need to keep showing up. I need to keep doing it. I need to keep inspiring other women so that they can see it can be done. There's hard work that comes with it. There's struggle that comes with it, but we're living proof that it can be done.
Once again, I'm going to piggyback off of Tressa here because it's a wonderful time to be a woman in Hollywood right now, and especially an African-American woman. For so many years, we were told that we couldn't open films, that we couldn't carry television shows. And our fans are putting their money where their mouth is. They're like, no, I want to see Black women in power positions. I want to see Black women directors. I want to see Black women starring in films and television shows, and I will support them 100%. So, we're here to be role models to say, hey, thank you for your support. And we promise to continue to bring you quality projects. And you too, one day can be in a director's chair. You too can one day be in a producer's chair or an actress in a lead film. But you have to do the work, darlings, and take this serious. If you want to get the acclaim and get the roses and the flowers to be thrown your way, you have to do the work, because trust me, this ain't easy, but it's definitely a challenge that we have accepted so that we can then pass the torch to you.
Thanks, WrapWomen, for joining us.
Darlings, make sure to catch Through Her Eyes July 10th at 8 p.m. on BET Her, directed by your girl, Vivica A. Fox.
Building a Career in Comedy Masterclass with Sky Townsend from HBO's A Black Lady Sketch Show. Welcome to my masterclass. This is exciting. Masterclass. If you're wondering who I am and who gave me the credentials to have this class, I'm pretty shocked myself. I'm a comedian, I am an actress, and I am also a singer, and I'm currently on season 2 of HBO's A Black Lady Sketch Show. And today I'm going to talk about comedy. I'm going to talk about things that I think every comedian should know, important things to study, some of my own personal influences, part of my journey, and then advice for anybody trying to get into sketch comedy or character work. So let's get into it. Okay, I basically got started like a lot of people did, the internet. I started making videos about 12 years ago, and I was just hoping to be seen, hoping to get into the door. So I started making content of characters, impressions. I posted a video impersonating Beyonce. A year later, a year later it went viral. In that video, I sang for 10 seconds. Off of that 10 seconds, I started working with a record label. Are you seeing how powerful the internet is? So anyway, I'm thinking at this point, I'm gonna blow up and I'm gonna be the funniest girl on earth. I can't wait to get in the door. No, not quite. Let's slow down, right? So I thought I'm ready. Everything's gonna happen. 10 years later, I finally am on a major Emmy-nominated TV show. Woo-hoo. 10 years. So what this masterclass is, essentially, is me explaining the things that I've learned, the lessons that have really helped me and molded the career that I have now, and certain things that I think could be helpful to you so that you don't have to learn that lesson the hard way. I was auditioning actively for 10 years. I did book, little things here and there, but nothing bigger than a guest star. But I kept getting in a position of almost. And I think when you continue getting into a position of almost, you have to wonder, what is missing? Or what is not making this click? Now, sometimes it is just timing. There are some people who are fully prepared, who are ready to go, and it is just timing. That piece of hair said no. It's just timing. For me personally, I thought it was timing, but once I did deeper digging, I realized, oh wow, there are so many things that I could be working on, and if only I knew this, maybe I could have been in this space a little bit sooner. So let's get right into it. I want to start with 3 things that every fantastic comedian has to understand. Number 1, timing. It is so important to know when it is time to say a joke and the pace that you should say it. Now, during this masterclass, I will give you examples because I like examples. I don't like when people just say something powerful and they go figure it out. So for example, if the joke is, wow, your mom is really cute, the pace in which you say that can either make it very funny, we might miss the joke, we might not hear what you said, or it might perfectly land. Every great comedian practices their timing. And sometimes when you're learning lines, try different timing because you might discover something better. For example, my first instinct might be, wow, your mom is really cute. Second, wow, your mom is really cute. Third, let's combine the both. Wow, your mom is really cute. That one felt good because I understood the timing of the joke. It didn't get lost and it didn't take too much time. It's important to know when it's time to share. Comedy is like passing a ball back and forth. Nobody wants to watch a ball hog, right? There's a time and a place to share the joke. Nobody wants to watch somebody who is trying to be the funniest person 24/7. Timing is also understanding. It is my time to rest. It is their time to shine. It is my time to think of my joke and just stay on my toes. It is their time to go in. It's always a back and forth. So timing is incredibly crucial. Certain people just naturally have fantastic timing and they know exactly where to slip in with their joke. But it is something that I think you can get better with. It is something you can study. Watch some of your favorite comedians and pay attention to where they make that decision to shine, how they pace their jokes. Are they loud? Are they soft? See that there's so many ways to deliver one line. There's so much power in practicing your delivery. It's okay to look in the mirror and practice one line 10 times because on the 5th time or the 6th time or the 7th time, you might discover something that you could not find in the 2nd time. Number 2, instincts. Now for me, I believe that instincts are just kind of trusting your gut when it comes to enhancing comedy. Instincts are important because you know when it's time to not make a joke. You know when it's time to maybe stand there and stare at the person. You know when it's time to say it really, really fast, but there's a voice in our head that says, I know you've been doing it this way, but how about you try this? And sometimes a comedian is super, super funny, but they don't trust themselves. They don't trust their instincts. And you can always see it in your work when you're questioning yourself. So I think beyond having instincts, trusting them is just as important. Because if you have a wonderful idea, but it feels a little risky or it feels intense and you don't want to do it, that could have been the best decision you've ever made. Instincts come naturally to some people, and it feels super easy to know exactly how to move your body with the joke, exactly how to deliver it for it to be perfect. But I think by being a great listener, you become a better comedian. Also, instincts might be, how can I make this funnier with my body? My instinct's telling me that I should go like this. Whoa! That might not happen in the first take, it might happen in the fourth, but trusting the instincts and just saying, you know what, this feels good, I'm gonna give it a go. I think this might enhance the joke. My gut is telling me to do this. I must be in tune with my gut in order to properly deliver the material. And third, improv. I think whether you are trying to be a stand-up comedian, a sitcom star, a sketch comedy star, a podcast host, whatever you are trying to do in comedy, improvisation is so important. It is so important. Now, I know some people, when they think improv, think of a class where people are like, you're a bird, you're a bird. Some of it is that. But improv is always staying on your toes. Improv is always being a fantastic listener. Improv is being present in the moment and just responding in a way that shows you've been listening. Now, if you're gonna freeze, which don't freeze as a comedian, don't make mistakes. If you make mistakes, it's all over. If you're going to freeze as a comedian, make it funny. I think something that I never realized or nobody ever told me about improv was you can take time to think. You're allowed to take a pause. We don't expect you to come up with the funniest joke after 1 second of thinking. For example, if you're in a scene and somebody says, what are you doing here? And you rush to come up with something. I was just picking up a pizza from my... You don't have to rush. Rewind, taking your time. Think. What are you doing here? I was just coming to see how my best friend's doing. By taking that moment, I still instinctually made it funny, but it gave me room to come up with the next thing. Another major thing with improv is pay attention to the joke being said. If you overplan, you might mess up the entire moment. I will give you another example. Let's see. If two people are having a conversation and somebody goes, oh man, I love that girl so much, I would take the bus to see her and then a plane. If in your head you're so busy planning a joke based off of what he just said, you might mess up the scene. What if he goes, a bus or a plane? I would swim through the lake with her. I would jump up and cut off my toes just to see this girl. If your response is so pre-planned that you just want to respond to the bus, you're going to take us backwards in the scene. So you can't overplan a joke. You cannot get married to a joke. I don't have a wedding ring on, but don't get married to a joke. Don't say there's nothing funnier than this. A brilliant comedian stays on their toes. They know that there's always an opportunity to be funny. You don't have to be married to one comment that you think will just rescue the scene. If somebody goes in a different direction, a wonderful comedian will always follow. Ooh, I like that. It's feeling really masterclassy up in here. Now I want to get into a few things that have really, really changed my career and really helped me to feel like I was elevating to the next level. Number one, studying. I know sometimes we're like, I am out of 9th grade. I do not want to study. Or when you think study, you just think school. Studying is never ending. Studying as a comedian is never ending. Studying should be one of your biggest priorities. You never know where inspiration will come from, but it is really important to know who you're influenced by. I always say, if you only have one influence or one person that you look up to, you got a lot of work to do. For example, I have comedians that I look up to for their physical comedy. whether that be Jim Carrey, Mike Myers. I admire them for their character work. There are comedians I look at for their intelligence, for the way that they approach subject matter. Dave Chappelle. There are people that I look at who I just think are so silly and so fun to watch. Damon Wayans. There are comedians that I look at and I go, wow, the versatility is unbelievable. Maya Rudolph. When she used to go from Donatella Versace to Beyonce, I was blown away by her. There are some comedians that I look at and I admire them for their bravery. Richard Pryor. There are some comedians that I look at and I think that their ability to transform in prosthetics is absolutely incredible. Eddie Murphy. There are some comedians that I look at and I go, their ability to combine all of their gifts in one is very fascinating. They are so gifted and well-rounded. This is so enjoyable to watch. Jamie Foxx. There are some comedians that just make me laugh just based off of the way that they laugh. Anna Faris. And so I think it's so important to understand why you love the comedians that you love. So how do you study? Well, the first most simple answer, watch a lot of TV, watch a lot of movies, digest a lot of content to see what is funny. Now, something we naturally do is watch funny stuff, but we don't ask ourselves in the process, why is this funny? So I encourage you, the next time you're watching something and you laugh, pause and ask yourself, why did I just laugh? Was it his face? Was it the way he delivered the joke really fast? What made that funny, and how can I incorporate that into the work that I hope to do in the future? Another thing that I think is so important for every successful comedian is the ability to seek inspiration everywhere. It is everywhere. Everywhere. Now, let me tell you how I incorporate inspiration in my character work. First of all, every single guy that I've ever dated, I have stolen a voice from. Whether they're from Harlem, New York, and they talk like this, or whether they're from Los Angeles, California, and they talk like this. I'm gonna steal from all of you. You're all gonna give me inspo and make this worth my while. Anyway, I also steal from my family. And let me give you examples. Sometimes people think that there's no inspiration there if somebody's more mellow or they're not really a big personality. I can't pull inspiration. Guess what? Wrong. For example, my mom, when she talks on the phone, my mom's not a big personality, but one time I listened to her and I said, this is a fantastic character. She was talking to a friend, they were telling her a story, and all she says was, mm-hmm. But the way she said it was such a character, and I got inspired in a different level. Example. Mm-hmm. 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 And I started watching her and the way she blinked and the way she held the phone. And I said, I'm going to eventually pull that and use that for a character. My dad, when he's disappointed in us, he sings his words. He'll be like, I can't believe you did that. I don't like that. I don't think that was cool. And I love that for a character. My sister, whenever she's being condescending, she pokes out her lip in this really puffy, strange way. Okay, well, if you don't want to listen to me, then don't. And I looked and I was like, this is comedic gold. Thank you. My brother, he loves talking to his friends. He hates talking to me. If I ask him a question, he is so dry. And it used to drive me insane. I was like, I want to just punch you in your head. But then I was like, you know what? This is a really great character. He'd be like, yeah, I mean, I went to school and I did my homework and I was like, yeah, thank you for nothing but something. There's inspiration all around us, whether it is the way somebody walks or the way somebody moves their fingers when they're talking, the way certain singers hold their hands. If you are willing to seek inspiration and use all of it in your comedy, you really win. Even Anna Faris, I remember growing up and hearing her laugh in Scary Movie and being like, one day, I'm gonna pull that for something because I found, it was fascinating. If you study and find inspiration all around you, you will never run out of ideas. You just have to look at it different. And you don't write off the smaller personalities or the quieter personalities. Just because somebody doesn't walk through screaming in a purple hat and shimmying doesn't mean that they cannot provide you with inspiration. Take advantage of social media. Everything you put on the internet can either change your life for good or change your life for bad. I think people fail to realize that despite the fact that there is so much content online, very funny content always rises to the top, even if it's a year later, like in my case. But people are always digging and looking for things to laugh at. And so I think it's really important to not get discouraged when it comes to posting your own videos. Oh, there's millions of people doing that. Oh, they don't care to hear it from me. Wrong. If you have something amazing to say or a unique perspective, I honestly encourage you to still take advantage of social media. You have the entire world at your fingertips. You're able to inspire and make people laugh all across the world. It is a win-win. I just encourage you to be cautious of the things that you post, be smart, and be very aware that everyone in your family and every person you know might watch this video if it blows up. So do you really want to post it? Think about it. Now, this one may throw people off. Get your spirit right. I know. I was like, oh God, here she goes. But hear me out. There is nothing more distracting than a comedian who is deeply in pain and cannot get the pain out of their eyes as they're delivering the joke. There's something that happens when you see somebody's face and you go, that made me feel a little uneasy, or that humor was really self-deprecating, but I don't even think they thought that was funny. I'm uncomfortable. That felt a little too painful. That made me feel weird. If you're battling a lot of things, especially in comedy, it's okay to take a break. It's okay if you're not feeling funny to pull back. Sometimes you can't turn the situation into a joke. And I think this is something that a lot of people never speak about, is being able to step back and say, I gotta get me right before I jump back into this, because something about me is rubbing people wrong. Just my advice, you don't have to listen to me. Who am I? Now, lastly, I would like to get specifically into sketch comedy. Now, when I booked this show, a Black Lady Sketch Show on HBO, stream it now, woo woo. When I booked this show, the audition process was a self-tape, and they asked for 3 to 5 characters and a monologue for each character. Now, I wanted the role so bad that I was determined to give them at least 10. But in the same amount of time. If you're going to bend the rules, make sure that you don't break them. Bend them. Now, if I know that you're looking for 3 to 5 characters, a minute monologue each, you're not trying to watch more than 5 minutes. So I decided to jam-pack 11 characters into 5 minutes in hopes that they saw how hard I was working and how much I could really offer because I wanted the part so bad. That got me a callback the very next day, and after that, an offer from the show. I bended the rules, but I did it in a way where I delivered. If you're gonna bend the rules, make sure that you deliver. Sometimes people like to break the rules because they think they're pulling something off that they're not. You never want to offend the person offering the opportunity. You just want to show them how bad you want it. Personally, when I develop a character, I like to assign my body head to toe, different roles, different jobs, different positions. Let me explain that. With sketch comedy specifically, it is so enjoyable to watch somebody who includes their entire body, their face, their voice, everything in the process. If I just change my voice, it's not as fascinating to hear me talk like this. But if I'm talking like this, it's a little bit more interesting to watch because now I've engaged my face. And if I add my fingers, it's a little bit more interesting to watch than if I was just talking like this. So when I do a character, or start to develop them from the ground up, I decide, first, what is this person's backstory? Are they confident? Are they insecure? A confident person is going to stand differently from somebody who's not sure of themselves. How do they walk? Do they drag their foot a little? Do their feet point inward? Do they walk really fast? Are they super slow? Let's get into their body. That's first. Then I go to the face. Do they have a squinted eye when they're being mysterious? Do they hold their mouth very tight, very loose? Is it big? Is it small? There's so many things you can do with just your mouth. So now imagine when you incorporate your eyes or you incorporate a head tilt. There's so many characters you can develop, and I think sometimes we limit it to voices. I understand that everybody is not the greatest with voices. Do not cheat yourself of transforming just because you're not fantastic with voices. Your body, whether it be your fingers, whether it be your shoulder, whether it be your head, whether it be your neck, you're able to engage your entire body in the process of creating characters. And for me personally, I think what you'll see on season 2 of A Black Lady Sketch Show is I get my whole body involved. But there's a lot of work that goes into comedy. People expect you to just wake up and be funny. Some people are. But I think the really brilliant people do the work, and they really do the studying, and they do the extra homework, and they go the extra mile. So whether you're trying to be a stand-up comedian, sketch comedy artist, sitcom actor, you want to be funny on your show, I hope that all of these notes that I've provided today are helpful. I look forward to hopefully doing this again in the future. Thank you for joining me with my masterclass, Building a Career in Comedy. I hope you learned something. If you did, I would love to hear from you. Please message me on social media at Sky Townsend. It's right there. And let me know what you learned. I'm sending you all the best, and good luck with your career. And just remember, it may take a long time to do the work, so you gotta be in it for the work and not for the wins. Take care.
Hi everyone, and welcome to Financial Fit Check, How to Start Investing. My name is Mia Sampson, and I'm the manager of the Marketing and Social Media Department at Gerber Kawasaki Wealth and Investment Management. While we're a smaller firm in Los Angeles, we serve clients across the globe and focus on educating our clients while putting together their plans. What sets us apart and makes us unique from other firms is that we will work with you at any stage of your life. So most financial institutions require high minimums for help investing, but we'll work with you before you have that capital and help you get there. Investing hasn't always been a hot topic, but it really boomed in the pandemic. I think that a big reason for that is that a lot of individuals had unexpected stress put on their financial situation due to business closures and massive layoffs. It was a rude awakening for many that having financial security is something that we should all strive for. So today, I want to talk about first, why investing is key to financial security, 2, the differences in attitudes and returns for females and male investors, 3, how to get started investing and how to find a financial professional that's right for you. Men and women tend to have varied views when it comes to investing and managing money in general. Only 26% of women in the US currently have money in the stock market. Now, this is probably partially due to the gender pay gap. Having more money to invest leads to greater wealth accumulation and interest in the markets, which is more difficult when women are making 82 cents for every dollar that a man earns. This brings me to the first point that I really want to discuss, which is why investing is key to financial security. A big barrier to investing is the fear that it's risky. But by saving your money in the bank, your interest rate is probably barely keeping up with inflation. If you're not keeping up with inflation, then your hard-earned money is actually going down in value. Once you begin to routinely save through an investment account, you start to earn interest on the principal amount that you invested. And then from there, you begin to earn interest on that interest, and then again, and again. So each time you're earning interest on the interest, it's growing exponentially. This is called compounding interest, and it allows your money to work for you. Apart from being able to create additional revenue streams and beat inflation, investing can provide tax advantages for certain types of savings accounts. Some examples of this would be a Roth IRA, HSAs, which are health savings accounts, 529s, which are used for college savings accounts, and many more. Lastly, it gives you the opportunity to participate in companies that you believe are shaping the future. When you own stock in a company, you're part owner in that corporation. And if it's renewable energy that you believe will shape the future and combat climate change, then you can invest in companies that are leading in that space. With the pandemic and an aging population, we've seen rapid advancement in biotechnology. You could be investing in that. Technology, although we hate it sometimes, we all hate social media sometimes, we can't deny that it has connected us to old classmates, relatives, colleagues in ways that weren't possible before. Work from home and school from home wouldn't have been possible if technology wasn't where it's at today. And you can be a part of these movements by investing in the areas that you believe in. Let's move on and talk about our second point. What are some of the differences in attitudes and returns between female and male investors? Apart from there being fewer women investing in the stock market than men, when they do choose to invest, they tend to have more conservative portfolios. As mentioned before, creating a portfolio that can outpace inflation is essential. Of course, you should still be looking at your overall goals and discussing what balance of risk to reward you're willing to take on with your financial advisor. Having more conservative investments is not always a bad thing. In a study done by FINRA, researchers found that 71% of men assess themselves as having a high level of investment knowledge compared to 54% of women. Even though men's confidence levels are much higher, women tend to have better investment returns. It's very difficult to take emotions out of investing. You're seeing your hard-earned money fluctuate. The stock market is a volatile place, and it's instinct and impulse to react to any movement of money. At Gerber Kawasaki in particular, we focus on investing in companies that we see being leaders for the next 10 plus years. By focusing on short-term fluctuations, you can greatly hinder your ability to make money. In the last 10 years, from 2010 to 2020, the S&P 500, which is a stock market index of the 500 largest companies in the US, has had an average return of 13.6%. But if you miss some of the biggest moving days, your returns could be significantly lower. This is something that women have going for them. We are patient. Wells Fargo found that women trade 27% less frequently than men. When using the robo-advisor Betterment, women changed their asset allocation 20% less frequently than men, and Vanguard accounts found that women were trading 40% less frequently than men. JP Morgan put out more studies about this dating even farther back. So they took 20 years between January 4th, 1999 to December 31st, 2018 and said, okay, if you invested $10,000 in 1999 and never took your money out, you would have $29,845. But if you got nervous and did not stay invested the whole time and missed the 10 best days, and think about this, the 10 best days out of 7,300 days, your money would be worth $14,895. That's about half of what it would be if you stayed invested the whole time. So that's why we always say it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. So how do you get started investing, and how do you choose a financial professional? Investing in mutual funds and exchange-traded funds, or ETFs, is a popular method commonly used to invest in stocks and bonds. A mutual fund pools investors' money together for a common objective like growth or income. An ETF is an investment that tracks a basket of assets like a market index or a sector like solar or pets. You don't necessarily have to pick the winning company when you're investing in an ETF, but rather the winning sector. We've seen a large trend and adoption of solar energy, but it was hard to tell at first what company would really accelerate moving forward. The ETF TAN allowed us to track the top solar companies and have positions in all of them. One strategy that many investors use is called dollar cost averaging. This is a strategy that takes advantage of the fluctuations of the market by buying more shares as the price drops. You can do this by paying yourself first. Say on the first of the month, I'm going to put X amount into my investment account. Some months it will buy you more than others. So let's look at an example of how dollar cost averaging works. When you're dollar cost averaging, you're making a regular contribution that goes into your investment or retirement account at the same time each month or each week, however you want it to be. If you have a 401k, it's actually really similar to probably how you're investing in your 401k. But let's look at an example of how this works. Okay, so in this example, and please remember that this is indeed a hypothetical example, we have two people. We're going to call them P1 and P2. Person 1 and person 2. And person 1 is going to be investing in this rising market here, versus person 2 is going to be investing in this fluctuating market. They're each going to be putting in $500 a month. And excuse my handwriting if it gets a little bit messy. They're each putting in $500 a month. And we're going to see how their stocks do and who wins at the end of the 6-month period. So to start out, person 1 and person 2, both of their stocks are at $5. So with their $500, each of them can buy, well, 100 shares. Second month is where we start to get a little bit different. So person 1 now, theirs is going up. Okay, they're now at $6. So with their $500 and the shares being $6 each, they can get 83.33 shares. Person 2, on the other hand, theirs went down. It went down to $4. Now with that $4, and remember they're investing $500, they can buy 125 shares. Person 1 keeps climbing. All right, so now they are at $7. With their $500 and the shares being $7 each, that means that they can buy 71.43 shares. Person 2, theirs just keeps going down. So theirs went down to $2. With their $500 and the shares being $2 each, they can get 250 shares. Person 1, this stock is just doing so well. It just continues to go up. Now at $8. With their $500, that gets them 62.5 shares. Person 2, finally, it's about time that this one went up a little bit. Now we are here at $4. So that's the same as before, 125 shares for their $500. It is now, what, month 5? Yep, we're on month 5. So person 1, theirs is now worth $9. With their $500 and it being $9 per share, they can now get 55.56 shares. Person 2, it went down again. It seemed like it was going so well. It went down again. It's now $3, which with their 500 gets them 166.67 shares. We're in the last month here. We're about to see who won. Person 1, theirs all the way at $10. Theirs doubled. Okay, so theirs is at $10. They're putting in 500, which means that they can get 50 shares. Person 2, they're right where we started. So they're at $5, which gets them 100 shares. Let's total it up and see how many shares each person has and what those are worth. So person 1 has a total of 422.82 shares. Person 2 has a total of 866.67 shares. But we don't stop there because remember, each of these are worth something different. So person 1, their 422.82 shares are worth this $10 amount. So multiply it by 10, we're at $4,228.20 as their total. That's what all of their shares are worth. Now for person 2, theirs are worth this $5, which is what it started at. But with their 866.67 shares times $5, they get a total of $4,333.33. It's a lot of threes. So actually, even though person 2 stock stayed at the same price that it was at the beginning after the 6 month, they ended up with more money than person 1. And that's exactly how dollar cost averaging takes advantages of the fluctuation in the market. So you shouldn't be worried about these short-term fluctuations when you're putting in money consistently because you could actually end up with more. A lot of people fail to save because they use their income for their fixed monthly expenses and then they tend to overspend on miscellaneous activities or items such as shopping or going out to eat. Now, paying yourself first uses the out of sight, out of mind strategy. You save first a reasonable amount that still allows you to pay for the things that you need, like rent and insurance, and then everything that's left over is there for you to use. When you work with a financial advisor, the goal is to review your financial situation and create a plan to achieve whatever goals you have, whether it be buying a house or going on extravagant vacations or retiring someday. Your financial advisor should be viewed as the quarterback of your financial life. Rather than looking at one of those specific areas, they're making sure that your overall financial picture is in order. You should also be looking to work with a fiduciary. A fiduciary is a person or organization that is bound legally and ethically to act in the client's best interest. Fiduciaries have to disclose conflicts of interest and tend to be overall more transparent. They're held to a higher standard than just working off client suitability. So before I end here, know that it's never too late to start investing. Time is your friend, and like I've said already, it's not about timing the market, it's about time in the market. If you're just starting out your career and starting to build your wealth, you can also start investing. You have a long time horizon, and investing is not just for if you're already wealthy. If you're established in your career and nearing retirement, it's extremely beneficial to sit down with a financial advisor and ensure that you're ready for that large monetary change. I would really like to thank The Wrap for allowing me the opportunity to present to all of you watching why you should be investing and how you can get started. I hope that while this was educational, it was also interesting and that you feel empowered to join either the world of finance or to take control of your finances and know that I'm here, Gerber Kawasaki is here to support you and your goals and your financial journey. Don't hesitate to reach out. My email is mia@gerberkawasaki.com, or you can call using 310-441-9393. Let's all stay connected. I'm on TikTok under Markets with Mia, and I also do a weekly podcast that's on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts with my coworker Ziad called How To with Mia and Ziad. So slide into my DMs any day and we can talk more about investing. And with that, thank you for joining me on my first ever masterclass.
Hi, my name is Sharon Chuta, and I'm the founder and CEO of Oma Beauty and also Pull Up for Change. I am from Nigeria, and my journey has been quite interesting. Coming from Nigeria, where I grew up and I spent my formative years, and then moving to Australia. My career has been wild. Everything in my life happens completely spontaneously. I started my life thinking I was going to be a pilot, and here I am with my own business in beauty. And that journey happened by accident. I quite literally stumbled into beauty. So I had started my journey to be a pilot, moved on to be an aeronautical engineer, got into university, and then decided I knew it all, because at the time I got into university as a real young teenager, and then dropped out to go be a singer. And halfway through being a singer, realized music does not pay the bills, and I needed a real job. According to myself at the time, and that was how I stumbled upon beauty, because I, at the time, needed something to do and asked the question, why don't we have any of the major beauty brands in my country? And then, I reached out to a lot of beauty brands. They had no idea I was a teenager at the time. And luckily for me, Revlon responded. And like they say, the rest is history. I ended up bringing Revlon to Nigeria, and that started my pathway in beauty. I decided to sell off the distribution agreement and moved on to go work in corporate so I could learn a lot, because I realized I was not ready to be an entrepreneur at the time. Fast forward 12, 13 years, a lot of companies in between. I finally got to the C-suite and then decided that I no longer wanted to be a part of a system that was very exclusive and non-inclusive. And that began my journey towards Oma Beauty. I was going through a personal journey myself, because I was going through a journey of self-discovery. I had given up way too much to get to where I got to in terms of my identity, my heritage, who I am. And I just got to a point where my focus was reclaiming myself, owning myself, and loving myself. And I could not do that while being in a corporate entity. So I left and went on a journey that ended up with Oma Beauty. And Oma Beauty was my therapy. Oma Beauty was me pouring my heart and soul into accepting myself for who I am, and loving myself for who I am. And through that, I put all of that passion and that soul into the product. I wanted to set a tribe where everybody could feel included. I felt left out because of the color of my skin, but I think on so many levels, so many people understand what it feels to be left out. Beauty as an industry, and every industry has no right to tell us who's beautiful and who's not. And so that was really my mission with Beauty. We launched in April 2019. And it's just been a wonderful ride. Of course, as a founder, high and lows, but mostly highs. And in June 2020, I went one step further in my purpose to continue to fight for inclusion and equity and continue to advocate and speak up for those who do not have a voice. And during the summer, off the back of the racial awakening in America, I founded Pull Up for Change. And Pull Up for Change is a non-for-profit organization that advocates for transparency and accountability from companies, specifically for Black employment, because Black employment in America and around the world is at pandemic levels. It is actually a human rights crisis. And Pull Up for Change, our role is to continue to advocate for the advancement and economic well-being of Black communities all over the world. I'm a person who really leads and follows my heart. And in June 2020, off the back of, this all started in May, really when we were at the peak of the uprising of the murder of George Floyd. For me at the time, I just wanted to be part of the solution. And for me, I was out there protesting on the streets, really mobilizing and organizing community. And one of the things that frustrated me the most was every day coming back home, looking on my phone and seeing companies releasing all these big statements of, support, of standing with the Black community. And for me, it was all wrong, because I know at that point in time, everybody was really focused on criminal justice reform. But every inequity we see through policing and criminal justice reform is not the cause, it's a symptom of the problem. And the root cause is in segregation, which now segregation came out of law and became economic segregation. Who are the custodians of economic participation? Companies. Companies determine who's hired, who's fired. The finance company determines who gets investment to run their businesses and who don't. So for me, it was really insulting to see the same people who have starved us and marginalized us, the same people who, to me, are directly responsible for the death of George Floyd. Because I keep saying, if George Floyd was the CEO of Goldman Sachs, would he be dead today? Probably not, right? So I think for me, it was really infuriating for me to see these same people release statements of support and then donate $1 million to Black Lives Matter, right? When they are the ones who hold the power to truly enact change. And so it was such an emotional time for me. I wasn't really thinking. Everybody keeps asking me, what were you thinking when you put the challenge out there for every company to release their data? I was not thinking. I was in an emotional place. And I felt like I wanted to use everything that I had to really, as we continue down the path of criminal justice reform, which is really important, to start to shift the focus to things that are truly going to be a solution and a long-term solution. And economic participation is a key part of it. And so I woke up that morning, I remember calling people just going, hey, I'm gonna do this. A lot of people were like, don't do it. Nobody's gonna respond, everybody wanted to rant. And I was like, no, I want actionable conversations. And Pull Up for Change was pretty much put together in less than 48 hours, right? The only reason I didn't even launch it within 24 hours was that Tuesday was what I called the Black Towel Tuesday, where every company had a black towel to show the solidarity. And I wanted to wait for that moment to go. And the Wednesday immediately after, Pull Up for Change was launched. And we released a challenge to companies saying, hey, release your data. We're happy you stand with us. Thank you very much for releasing that statement. But now show us that you truly stand with us in order to start moving this conversation and to start being part of the solution as opposed to the problem. Everybody asks the questions, how do you get the courage to do the thing you do? A lot of people use words for me like fearless. And for me, I don't even see it as courage. It is just common sense, right? We can't just sit there in times of inequity and injustice and just go about our business like nothing is happening. So for me, it's not even really about the courage to do it. It's just, it is necessary. It is just absolutely necessary. Nina Simone once said, as an artist, your art has to reflect the times that you live in. And I take that very, very seriously. As a businesswoman, as a creator, as a part of this world, everything I do has to be reflective of the realities of what we're going through today. We cannot be turning a blind eye. And I have this huge belief that everybody thinks it's Jay-Z who's going to change the world, or Barack Obama, or all of these big people. No, they're not the ones who's going to change the world. It is all the people who nobody pays attention to. It is that guy, that woman on the street who nobody's even turning and giving a second look. They're the ones who are going to change the world, because the power truly is with the people, is with you, is with me. It's all of us nobodies who truly have the power. We're the ones who decide who has the power, and we're the ones who decide who we take that power away from. So for me, it's just enabling, and I will encourage everybody, female, male, anybody who has pulse in your vein. We must all contribute to making the world a better place. We must always, regardless of what we're doing, live our lives to ensure that we leave this world a little bit better than we found it. It is the rent we pay for the life that we are given. So getting Pull Up for Change started, at the start, just going out, putting that challenge, that pretty much was the easiest part, right? But then it blew up, and it just, it was really challenging at first, even just to keep up with the conversations, the demand, everybody talking to you all at the same time, whilst you also have a business that you're running. So there's a lot of time pull there. But for me, I am so passionate about what I do. I work 134 hours every single week minimum, right? And that's because I'm doing so much, because I'm running a business, actually now 2 businesses. And then I'm having a very, very strong commitment to my activism and my philanthropy. So it's very challenging. I think the hardest part for me is the time. There's just so much to be done. It's sometimes it can almost seem overwhelming, because it's like, where do we start? And I remember even after we did the challenge and people posted and everybody submitted their numbers, I deliberately killed our social media for a while. And the reason I did that was, we want a tribe of people using their voice on social as activists. But we started having a lot of people who were just coming there, who were just trolls, just, not being helpful to the situation. And I didn't want that platform to really just become this really negative, platform that is all about abusing people. I wanted it to be more of an intellectual platform where we're all having conversations, but not just conversations, actionable conversations. So those types of decisions are quite tough, because the way to make them is always focusing on the bigger picture. What's going to make the bigger difference? Or even right now where we are, we're not spend a lot of time on social media anymore, and we're spending pretty much all of our time behind the scenes actually doing work. And that's what I say to my Pull Up for Change team. We've got to just get our head down. We have very limited time in a day. We're only a few of us. There's only 3 of us in the org, running the org right now. And so we just spend all our time day in, day out, just doing the work, working with companies, working with colleges to place people within companies, raising money for businesses. I mean, in February, we've raised about $500,000 that we're deploying to founders in July. So that's really the work that we continue to do. So I think for me, the biggest challenge is the time, and balancing my time, being that I'm a very active and very hands-on CEO in my fast-growing organization, and at the same time also serving my community through my non-for-profit. But for me, it's a privilege to have the ability to do those things, and it excites me, and I just love it. Look, when I launched Pull Up for Change, and one of the most common questions people ask me is, were there any surprises? What did you learn? The truth is there were no surprises, because before I put the challenge out there, I knew those numbers. I knew what they were going to come back as, right? I just chose to get the companies to release them themselves, because, when you're a person of color, whenever you speak, people don't believe you. You spend all your time trying to justify that what you're saying is actually true, right? It's almost, I always use an example to give to people to relate to it. Like, when a woman says she's raped, the man doesn't go on trial, the woman goes on trial, right? Everybody focuses on her. What did she do? Are you a virgin? What were you wearing? Did you go to his house? Whatever. And nobody puts the man on trial. The onus is on her, the way the community works, right? To actually prove it, as opposed to him to prove that he did not rape the woman, right? And it's the same thing with our community. Whenever we come up and we speak up, we spend so much time defending what we're actually saying that it never allows us to even move to phase 2, which is, what is the solution? So for me, that was why I orchestrated Pull Up for Change to be that way, where companies are self-reporting, because when the companies self-report, it does 3 things for us. Firstly, it takes away the debate on is it real or not. Because if I came out and said, hey, this company only has 2 Black people organizations, it's an allegation. People don't want to know, right? So it took away that noise straight away. The second thing is that it helped companies because there were a lot of companies who sort of thought they were doing good, right? Because they weren't looking specifically at Black employment. They were just looking at employment for people of color in general, right? So it really helped a lot of companies. It was a real wake-up call for a lot of companies to realize, oh my God, I didn't realize I was so bad. And then for those companies, putting that information out there voluntarily really was an olive branch to our community to show that, it's humiliating to go tell people, like some companies reported, I have 0 Black employees. That is the most humiliating thing you can do to yourself. But it takes a lot of courage, and it really shows that you are willing to do better. In the words of Maya Angelou, do the best that you can until you know better. And once you know better, do better. And so Pull Up for Change, the reason I organized it that way, the second goal was really to help these companies realize what we know and what we're seeing, and to really start the pathway for these companies to start doing better. And then the last and most important part was to really start establishing a baseline to which we can measure progress, for all of these companies to really smash this wall. And so from a data perspective, I really wasn't surprised. To be honest, I was positively surprised by some companies who I was like, oh, wow, I didn't even realize you even had any Black person or you even had 2 in your entire organization. So from that perspective, there weren't really any surprises or any insights there. What was really interesting, though, was to see how companies sustained it. One of the great things with Pull Up for Change as well, it really enabled employees within companies to speak up, right? And really start holding their companies accountable. And so for me, the interest and insights has come out like a year later, is to sort of see how a lot of companies sort of, okay, yeah, we have this problem. What do we do about it? And how lost most companies have been. And it's been so interesting to me. And sometimes I go, it's hard to be an educator because sometimes when you're educating, it's easy to get frustrated. And to be honest, sometimes I get very frustrated when I'm with these companies and they like drawing a blank. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. And it's like, hang on a second. 25 years ago, there weren't many women in corporate, right? Now look at the advancements women have made. Look at all of the steps that we're taking to get women in corporate, right? Of which we know as a hard fact, female participation and all of the work that's happened around that has benefited almost exclusively white women, right? So then I go, the work that you did to get white women to work, why can't you apply those same steps to get Black people into a company, right? Because it's the same steps that they need to happen. You need to make your organization an organization that is conducive for these people to stay in from a cultural perspective. 25 years ago, business meetings were held at golf courses, and when people wanted to have fun, they went to strip clubs. That was a very masculine way of running organizations. Now that's unheard of because companies had to evolve to make the companies more friendly to women. They created things like job share. They created things like part-time working. They created quotas. Companies stopped even doing mergers if you didn't have a woman on your board. Where are all of those initiatives for the Black community? None of them exist today, right? So I think for me, the big part of it was just seeing how seemingly lost a lot of companies are, and then seeing a lot of initiatives that are coming up, and some of them are just bad. Retailers trying to create a Black-owned aisle. I'm like, what are you thinking? Like, what is wrong with you? I know you're trying to create a solution, but this is not the solution. I mean, even 2 days ago, we just had a company in absolute scandal because they're trying to support the Black community for Juneteenth, but they went to all of these Black creators and refused to pay them, and essentially offered to pay them in product for these Black creators to come and pretty much endorse their products for Juneteenth, right? So those are the kind of behaviors that truly have been really surprising for me, if I'm honest, because I just expected that there is some common sense and everybody should know better. But it's a journey, and we continue to educate. And we continue to educate, and hopefully we are very hopeful that over time people will start to get it, especially the more public people are making mistakes. It helps other people learn from those mistakes. So personally for me, were there any new insights from a data perspective? Not really. I think more of my insights on learning has really been the way companies have reacted to it, and also the number of companies who've just completely dropped off when it comes to this, and just exhausted, and companies wanting really quick wins. So they want to run out and just hire immediately and put somebody in there, but no thoughts to the fact that I have to create a pipeline, I have to train, I have to invest, and this is a long-term kind of play. So when starting a grassroots campaign, to be honest, there are no guides or instructions, right? I will always say to everybody, if you want to have something to say it in the best way that you can. Organize in the best way that you can. Reach out to the community around you. Go and cold call, So you firstly have to start with what's your angle? What is really the thing that's bothering you, right? Right now, when it comes to racial inequities, there's so much we can talk about. We can talk about criminal justice reform. We can talk about the economics of it. We can talk about the more social issues. There is so much to talk about, but you really have to focus on what you're the most passionate about. Like for me, mine is the economic well-being of Black communities. It's always been that. So it's unchanged. And that's a really important step one, because it allows you to focus. And when you focus, it gives you a really good point to start. So that's a good starting point. Hey, what the number one, what exactly is because now we know the overarching theme. The overarching theme is how do we bring equity to Black communities? But what path am I going to go to get that? McMill is criminal justice reform because he has a personal experience on that. And so the first thing you have to do is what is your bone here, right? You have to be a dog with a bone, and what does that bone actually look like, and what does the shape look like? Once you've done that, it starts to create a pathway for you to understand, okay, what are the platforms that I have to be able to go about this? The first platform is always your platform. The first contact is your contact list. And don't worry that you only know 2 people. That's what we need. If everybody was doing this in a little way, it will really change the world, right? So it's about how do I even start within my own family, right? I always tell people it's the bullseye. How do I start within my own home? And then how do I start spreading out from there? How do I start with my neighborhood? How do I start with my community before even looking at the world at large? It gets very overwhelming when you start and all you want to do is conquer the world in day one. Remember why you do what you do, right? Remember why it's not for the glory. It's not about the fame, which means even if you impact just one life, it's enough, right? It's something that you've done. So I think it's about using that bullseye approach, starting from the inside, starting from your circle of direct influence, and then allowing that to start build. And the scary thing is starting, and all you need to do is just start. Because once you start, the truth is the more you do, the more there is to do. The more you're just working, and those are the parts that you cannot script, you cannot orchestrate. The second you start, I started Pull Up for Change, and it was just a thought, let me get my friends. And my contact was literally, I just went through all my DMs, went through my phone, my text. I was texting everybody, hey, can you post this for me? Can you say this? This is why, this is important, so whatever. It took me a whole day of just doing that to even get to the point, right? Okay, I want to make this a social campaign. I need assets, right? Okay, let me go find a graphic designer to make assets for me so I have something to deploy. Okay, great. Here's exactly what I want to say. Boom, boom, boom. Let's send it out to my community so that they can blast it out there. And they did just that. And then once that was out, to be honest, I had no control of what was going to happen, right? And everybody has to be comfortable with that. You have no control about what happens next. But what you need to continue to do is just wake up every day and do something, and just do something and do the next thing. And then the rest is just going to happen organically. And then give it time. You need to give it time, and you need to be consistent. Very, very important. Activism is not a for-profit career. You have to be passionate enough to lose everything for what you care about. And if you're not prepared to lose anything for it, then probably you don't want to be an activist, you just want to be a participant, because not everybody has to lead a call. Sometimes you can go and follow a call, right? Where you follow something somebody else has already built, you support them with your skills and support them with everything that you've got. Being on the front line is not everybody's cup of tea, and not everybody can handle it. And there is no shame in that. So I think figure out where you play here. Am I a supporting character? Am I out there just, backing something that already exists? Or do I want to go and start something for myself? And if you're starting something for yourself, it always has to be rooted in the purpose. And you have to make sure you don't get distracted with all the things that are unnecessary. Or if it starts going well, started to get distracted by the fame of it all, or people talking to you, stay focused on your message and just let it to continue to build. Let the work continue to speak for itself, and open more doors and open more places for you to enact change. So let's talk about social media activism, because this is one that is having a lot of conversations right now, right? You have people on both sides of the equation. Some people who call it lazy activism, and some people who really embrace it as the future, right? And you also even have the third part of the coin, which is the people themselves who feel like, am I doing enough just by sharing information on my page or my stories into my community? My view is, yes, it's a good start, right? It's doing something. It's better than doing nothing, right? To be honest, Social media is the equivalent of going to stand on the street and protest, right? It's just different. And in a way, it's quite effective. That was the power of Pull Up for Change and the Pull Up or Shut Up hashtag, right? It was able to mobilize, 110,000 people in 7 days to go and hold companies accountable. That is a feat that you cannot achieve without social media. If I wanted to go to my street and start handing out flyers, I cannot assemble 110,000 people, right? And that's the power of social media. So a lot of people, some kind of, really established activists sort of see it as lazy activism, but it's not, right? And so as long as the intent is right, as long as you've been thoughtful of how you use it, and very, very be careful about the information that you share, because not every information on social is correct. So firstly, for the people who are going, is it enough to actually post on social media? The answer is it's a good start. It is the right thing to do. Be very careful about the information that you're sharing. Make sure you do the work and actually fact check the information before you share, because there's a lot of dangerous and misinformation that just floats around on social media. But my answer to that question, or that concern that a lot of people have, is this enough, is that it's a good start. Yes, you can do more. Yes, everybody can do more, but that's also something that does help and does help to do. But I will definitely encourage everybody that social is a good start. Share information on social, share with your network. But like I said, it's the bullseye. That's really what continues to make that difference, the consistency. You having those conversations with your immediate family, with your extended family, with your community, you starting to do that work little by little, and that will build on top of the work that you're doing on social. But social is always a good start. So for people who are not Black, who want to be allies, that's fantastic, because to be honest, if Black people could change the world, it would have been done now, right? If we could change this situation that we are in, we won't be in this situation. The truth that a lot of the white community don't understand is only you can drive change, right? It was something amazing Chris Coleman talked about the other day on CNN, where he was like, with all of this police brutality and the way a lot of people are just waving it off like it's nothing. And he was like, it's gonna take white kids being killed for anything to change, right? Because then it's personal. And I think that's crazy that we're in a society where that's what it takes. Until it impacts other people, it's not a problem, right? And so I think for everybody who's not Black, specifically for white people, it's very important that they understand the power that they hold in this equation, and understand that really the change has to come from them, right? Because we're not in the position of power to enact this change. If we could, we would have done it. And as such, it's so important to educate yourself first, because the first thing that any white person needs to understand as you start to transition to become an ally for change is firstly understand that you are not immune to biases. That's just the first start. Until you have that understanding, you cannot even truly support anybody, because the whole world is designed that we live in a hyper-racial society. Everything we watch on TV, everything we've done for the last 400 years has been designed to hold a particular community down. So white people have to understand that even though it sounds like this wackadoodle kind of conspiracy theory, it is the truth. The images you're seeing on TV, the stories you're being told. So the first part of it is understanding that you're not immune to biases, right? And then educating yourself. And through that education, you will start to realize and understand the consequences of your own bias, not somebody else, your own bias, right? I have a really good friend who said to me during a conversation last year, going, it was so interesting. I've always been that person who says, I don't see color. And one day I started to check, instead looking back at my childhood and remembering all of the times where a Black man is walking past and my parents would put up the window, right? What was that actually saying to me, and what message did it send to me that is stuck in my head, but it's in my subconscious and I'm not bringing forward? And how I react when I see, for instance, if a 6'6" Black man was walking up to me, how comfortable do I truly feel if I'm honest with myself, right? So it took that person even recognizing with that little bit of bias right there, right? And then going, what are the consequences of this bias? Okay, even just from an economic perspective, even other than the social part or these people being killed, right? If this man walked into my office looking for a job as a PR manager, would I even give them a shot, right? Because the second they walk in, I already have the impression that they're a thug, right? So I would be just trying to fling them out of my office. So it was starting, which is the phase 2, through educating yourself, you start understanding the consequences of your own bias. And once that happens, oh Lord, you become such a fierce ally. And hopefully you even transition from being an ally to an advocate, because you can now start explaining to other white people with clarity of thoughts. Not, hey, go read this book or that book. You can talk about it through your own lens. And if everybody was doing that and checking their own biases and checking the people around them with their own biases, we will move leaps and bounds. We will have more progress than we've had in 300 years. The issue is, within white communities, conversations like this are considered uncomfortable, right? Everybody wants to say, I don't see color, which is BS. You should see color, right? Because you not seeing color is invalidating my existence, right? I am different. I am not embarrassed about being different. I am very proud to be different. I'm a Black woman. I'm a Black African woman. So I don't want you to not see my color. I want you to see it and I want you to respect it, right? Just the way I see you and I respect you. It should not have any negative consequences, right? But it should bring positive consequences, like you taking the time to start understanding me as a person, understanding my culture, understanding the nuances around that, and then we can truly communicate as human beings. And unfortunately, that is, oopsie, the bike. And unfortunately, that is not the reality, because most white folks are uncomfortable having this conversation. The second thing that I'll advise people is, especially my white friends out there, is to remove fear. Because there is a thing of, I'm afraid to say the wrong thing, I'm afraid to do this, and I'm afraid to do that. There is nothing we learn in life that we don't get wrong, but we continue to do them, right? You don't learn how to walk in one day. You don't learn how to ride a bicycle in one day. You don't learn how to swim in one day. So just the fact that you jumped in that pool and you drank a lot of water doesn't stop you from jumping back in future. So we have to move past this fear of, I'm afraid of doing it wrong. I'm afraid that somebody's going to call me out, because the truth is, even in that statement, you're perpetuating the stereotype again of the angry Black person. We're not here to shout at people. If you had a good intent and you said something that was off, I will educate you with love, right? I grew up in Nigeria where, being homosexual is illegal in my country, right? So I didn't have a lot of exposure to the LGBTQ plus community or the kind of openness and expression. I had to learn a lot. And I had to learn to understand, right? I didn't always get it right, but I had to learn, and I continue to learn even up to today. You have to open yourself up to learn, because if you close yourself to learn because of the fear of getting it wrong, you will never, ever move forward, and we will be stuck in this uncomfortable conversation for another 100 years, which is not possible. So I think for me, the big advice I would give to white allies is, firstly, understand that you're not immune to any biases. Secondly, educate yourself on your own bias first. And then in doing that, you will understand the consequences of your bias. Once you understand that, it becomes the fuel and the fire to really know that this world has to change, right? Because it's not fair, right? And it also helps you communicate better. The second piece will be fear. Remove fear. Everybody gets things wrong. Black people are not a species that dropped from the face of, just dropped from Mars 3 years ago that we're still trying to study. We're actually the oldest human in terms of Homo sapiens in the world, right? Everybody was Black at some point. We shared the same Black ancestor. So you are me, I am you. Let's start from that perspective, and then let's talk to each other without fear. Let's be open to understand everything that has happened and not say forget history. History is very relevant to how we're going to move forward. If we can get those things right, then we're cooking with gas. So if you're in an organization at any level, especially when you feel like you're more at an associate level, you're not yet at a senior level, and you're seeing inequities, what do I do? Is always the question, right? You can speak up. You can speak up. That's the first step. Speak up. The second you see it, speak up. Speak up and speak in the moment, right? If you see a Black person and somebody says something to them that's not appropriate, speak up and feel empowered to speak up, because in doing that, even the other person, you have just validated their experience, and that speaks a lot, right? So the first thing I'll say to people is speak up in the moment, file an official complaint, at least it's on record. Whether they act on it or they don't act on it is on record. And then for those who are brave enough, if you're in a place where continuously this is happening, walk away. You walking away is the biggest protest. If every employee in every company said to their organization, unless you become an organization that is morally sound, and morally sound means equity for all communities around the world, care for animals, care for our planet. If we help companies responsible to that, and they know that they're going to lose us if they don't do that, guess what? They will do that, right? Because companies respect, first and foremost, the dollars, right? That's all they care about. The two people who are critical to getting them that dollars is the consumer and their employees. That's it. You are that important, so you can make a difference. So what I will advise people to do is firstly speak up, put complaints in, escalate those complaints. I mean, do you know how amazing it would have been for me in my corporate career? Every time I had all of people say things to me that were awful, people say just huge racially charged things at me. Imagine how different or how I would have felt even just by hearing somebody stand up for me and go, that's not okay, you cannot say that, right? And somebody who doesn't look like me, because everybody knows people are going to listen to you more, regardless of your level in the organization. People will listen to you over listen to even a very senior Black person, and that's just the truth. So I think it's about just removing that fear and actually speaking up. And then, like I said, speak up, escalate, and if nothing's still happening, always feel free to leave, right? There are so many businesses across the country that need help and need your skills. Go work for a Black-owned business, right? Because Black-owned businesses are there trying to build and really do something amazing with very little support, very little financial support, very little systemic support. And this is where people can start making a difference in things that they don't really think about organically, right? Working for these businesses, you're going to get paid as much as you're getting paid in your current organization, but at least you're building something that is actually helping future generations. And that's something that every employee can actually control, right? So I would say, speak up, escalate, don't be afraid to leave, and don't be afraid to go join a Black organization. One of the things we're seeing right now out there that are working, right? It's right now it's quite early to actually pinpoint anything that's working, because most companies have just got on this journey for less than a year. It does take time to see results. But I can definitely say some things that are not helpful right now. Like I said, the one big thing that irks me is people trying to celebrate Black founders, especially from a retailer perspective, and starting to put these Black founders in select section of the store. What they don't understand that they're doing is they're recreating the ethnic aisle again. It is the ethnic aisle once over and over again. We are trying to move away from this hyper-racial society. The second, we know this for a fact. If a business publicly is Black owned, instantly white consumers don't want to shop with you anymore. They just assume that when you're Black, you can only create for Black people. So a lot of retailers are not understanding that they think they're doing a favor to this company, but you're not. The companies are actually going to get more discrimination than actual support. That's just the reality of where the market is at. If you want to help a Black business as a retailer, put them where they belong. To take them and put them just as Black owned, you are taking away the stories from this brand. You're taking away their brand proposition. Nobody went to found a brand and the reason you're founded is Black owned. That's not a proposition, right? So if I'm a color cosmetics brand, put me next to MAC if you want to help me, right? That's more helpful to me because I'm getting that MAC traffic and you're introducing me to new customers, right? So I think, things like that are not very helpful. I'm seeing a lot of companies just holding on non-stop listening sessions. Dude, at some point, you have to stop listening and start acting, right? And this is a problem. A lot of companies are stuck in this listening loop. The other thing that's really problematic that a lot of companies are doing, they're leaving it up to their Black employees to create the solution. So they're pulling these groups together. Of course, you always go, oh, this Black person come and do this and come and fix this for us. Meanwhile, that person also has a day job. That they're not even compensating them for the additional work that they're doing. And then secondly, they're still expecting them to continue their day job. So you have to think about it. This is a Black person who, if you're in America today, you're traumatized like crazy. Every day you turn on the news, there's a new person who's dying. You're now having to deal with these matters every single day at work and expected to fix everybody's problems because somehow you're the only one who can fix it. But at the same time, you now have the pressures to still deliver at your job and you're not getting $1 in additional compensation for it. That's not fair, and we need to stop that from happening, right? So these are just a few of the things that companies have deployed. I've seen it happen more than not with most of the companies who are trying to, have solutions. It's the same thing, just like I said with the retailers, to be honest, and I've challenged many retailers on this. I've gone, when you're trying to do that Black owned section, guess what? You're not doing that to help the brands. You're doing that to help your brands. All it's doing is saying to the world, look how good people we are. Look at it's the visibility of it all, right? So the fourth thing I want to talk about is the focus on the press and visibility. That's problematic. You want to go and do the work first before retailers are out there sending contracts to Black-owned businesses going, sign it over the next 3 days because we want to do a press release. That's not the way to do it. They're going to organizations, they're not compensating these people properly. All they focus on is, I want to do this initiative because this is what the press are going to think about it, and this is going to clean up my image. This is not an image cleanup process. This is a very serious process to balance equities in the world. And to be honest, it's good for business, right? We know that companies with diverse teams outperform companies without diverse teams by 25%. It makes common sense. It gives you a better view when you have a varied set of people solving any problem versus the same heads trying to solve a problem. So I think if companies start focusing on the PR of it all and actually focus on the actual work, we will even see more progress. So for me, I would say those are the kind of watch outs and the no-nos that I'm seeing happening so much in the marketplace that companies need to be aware of and make sure they're backtracking away from. Representation matters. I do what I do today because when I was growing up, there was nobody really to look up to other than entertainers. It's the reason why, surprise, surprise, I tried to be an entertainer, right? Because the best gift you can give to a child is nothing but a thought, an imagination, an idea that you can be. That is the biggest gift you can give to any child, right? So think about it. White kids are born, and from the day they're born, they are almost filled with this false sense of superiority that a lot of them don't even process. Just the world is your oyster. You look around you, everything is built around you. It's why you see people freaking out when you tell them wear a mask. You see the white people running around shooting people up because they don't want to wear a mask, right? Because they've learned that the world revolves around them. I have a friend who went to Asia and came back and was so pissed off and go, oh, I was there, and we go to the airports, nobody gives you attention. They all only care about the Chinese customers. And I said to her, process what you've just said. You're upset that you went to a country that wasn't yours, but the red carpet did not get rolled out for you. That's literally the summary of what you said. And she was silent for about 5 minutes and then turned around and was like, that's why I love having you as a friend, right? Because you make me see things that I don't even see. Now, when you're a child of color and when you wake up and all you see in TV is beautiful women and they're just Marilyn Monroe, Audrey Hepburn, nobody who looks like you. I remember when I was 14 and 15 years old, all I wanted to do was bleach my hair blonde, bleach my skin, and go get double D tits, because all I was watching at the time was Girls of the Playboy Mansion, right? And all I was seeing was Holly Madison, and all of these people was the same faces, right? Representation matters, because when you don't see yourself out there, you are deprived of the greatest gift you can have, which is imagination and the belief that you can be. So what happens at that point in time is that you learn, and this is the experience of every Black child, you learn at a very young age that you're different, but not different good, you're different bad. Everything about you is wrong. You never see it elevated, and anything that you do is not good until a white person does it, right? Black women were made caricatures of for the longest time for having big lips and big butt. The second a light-skinned woman did that, it became trend. Everybody started going to get a butt job, and everybody now has so much fillers, their lips can't even move anymore. But these are features Black women have had forever, and nobody appreciated, nobody put in the spotlight. And this is really why a representation matters, because it really shapes how we see ourselves. It shapes the place we put ourselves in the world. When you see a woman who's a CEO, it makes you believe I can be a CEO too. I remember my career wouldn't have been the same if I had not seen Indira Nooyi from Pepsi. I saw an Indian immigrant come to America and become the first female CEO of a multinational company at the time in Pepsi's history. Just seeing her there, people don't understand how much fire that was for me. And it actually made me write on my list, I want to work for Pepsi one day. And I ended up working for PepsiCo, right? That's the power of representation, right? If I was just seeing just middle-aged white men everywhere, I would have never believed that anybody like me would ever be able to be in that position. So representation matters, whether it's from seeing people in profession, seeing the standards and definition of beauty and the people you're seeing on TV. People wonder why Black Panther was so big for the Black community. For the first time on the big screen, you're seeing a Black superhero. Every Black kid who's had to fantasize about being a superhero up to that point, right, was all fantasizing about being Superman, about being Batman. And guess what? You can never be Superman, Batman. You're the wrong color. So having a hero like T'Challa on the big screen, because Black Panther always existed in the comic books, but you have to be a comic book fanatic. Bringing this into the mainstream and putting down the big screen was game changing for Black kids. You saw little kids standing there going like, wow, I could be a king too. And that's the importance. It was the same thing when I think it was Michelle Obama, her big portrait at the Smithsonian, and this little black kid staring at it, because it tells you I can be president too, you know. And so representation matters, and nobody should take that for granted, because once again, the greatest gift you can give to a child is an imagination and an understanding that they can be. And if you take that away from a child, you've already predetermined their future, because you've told them they will never be. And that's why I continue to do the work that I do, to make sure that somewhere some black kid is going to look up and go, you know what, because Sharon could, I can. And if I can do that, then my life has been spent properly. Wow, it's been such a pleasure today to speak with you guys. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in to listen to this. And I hope it's somewhat helpful to you when it inspires you to be the change that you want to see. And if you want to follow my journey, you can follow me personally. I'm Hey Sharon C. I'm not very interesting. I'm quite boring. But Pull Up for Change is more interesting. We have a page on Instagram called Pull Up for Change. You can follow us, you can join us, you can sign up to our newsletter to sort of see the work that we're doing. And then if you want to see what I'm doing from a business level, you can follow me. It's UOMA, Alma Beauty, almabeauty.com. Once again, the activism carries on even into my brand, which is a makeup brand. So you can find us there. So it's almabeauty.com or Alma Beauty on Instagram, Pull Up for Change on Instagram. Or if you want to talk to me, feel free, send me a DM. I do check my DMs once every Sunday. And it's at Hey Sharon C on Instagram. Thank you so much, guys. And I can't wait to continue this conversation and hopefully get connected with you soon.
Hey Rap Women, I'm Padma Lakshmi. I'm the host and creator of Taste the Nation on Hulu, as well as the host and executive producer on Top Chef on Bravo. So we've all been really busy, and I have too, even though we had to stop filming for some of the quarantine. We did manage to go back for Taste the Nation. We did manage to go back for Top Chef in October. And it was hard. It was hard being under lockdown and, you know, managing my daughter's hybrid or homeschooling. It was hard to even get a workout in and, you know, still feel human. But somehow I tried to at least take half an hour, even if I just laid in bed in the dark for myself. And that exercise of just giving myself silence and stillness helped. It wasn't any big meditation. It wasn't chanting. It wasn't anything, you know, difficult. It was just literally having half an hour where I don't move or talk or listen to anybody else. So for a lot of my earlier career, I suffered from an illness I didn't know I had. It's called endometriosis, and it affects 1 in 10 childbearing women worldwide. It's a chronic, painful disease that comes on with your period, but can sometimes come on before or even last longer. And for me, it really affected both my emotional well-being and my physical well-being. And I had to say no to a lot of jobs because of it. And basically, once I finally got the diagnosis that I needed at 36, I should have had it at like 26 or even 18. But when I finally got the diagnosis and the treatment that I needed, I could see how life was for normal people. And it wasn't until I got on the other side of that treatment, until I really realized how much it was impeding every part of my life, my work, my personal relationships, and my own ability to cope with just everyday normal stress. And so what I would say to you is, if you think something is wrong physically, check it out and don't stop until you get some answers, because in healthcare, women have to be able to advocate for themselves, and it's not something that's easy to do. And I had to learn the hard way, but it will be so worth it once you get on the other side of it. You know, endometriosis is a disease that not many people know about, and certainly not many people want to talk about. But if we don't talk about these difficult things that do affect us all, or a good portion of us, then we can never get further in research or finding a cure or advancing different choices for treatment. And so one of the biggest lessons to me in my life was to actually learn how to speak about a very private, very icky illness that I suffered from in order to shed light on it so that other women wouldn't have to go through what I went through. And luckily, we are making strides. The government in the last decade has doubled its funding for endometriosis, thanks to a House of Representative member named Abby Finkenhauer, who we worked with at the Endometriosis Foundation of America. We've also made great strides in science. At MIT, we launched a Center for Gynopathology there in 2009. It's still the only one of its kind in the country, and they're doing a lot of cutting edge research there too. So it just goes to show you that even if it's not easy, it's important to advocate for yourself, both with your own doctor and medical system, but also on behalf of other women who may need your advocacy. So when I get hungry, I just reach for the first thing that's near me. So what I've learned the hard way is to fill my pantry and my fridge with healthy things. It's also hard when you have a child, and they want snacks and goldfish and all that stuff. And then they should have it, right? Because you want their young bodies to grow and develop and be able to learn to digest a whole variety of things. But if you're opening the pantry and every time you look in it, there's just potato chips and, cookies, it's hard to eat nutritiously. So what I often do is I always have healthy snacks. I always have a few boiled eggs, just pre-boiled, but still peeled in the fridge. I have cut vegetables and fruits. Like right now, if you went in my fridge, you would see cut papaya, cut watermelon, and you would see some tangerines and grapefruit. And I just try to have that, including celery, and just things I can munch on easily, things that are whole foods, but don't take a lot of prep. Like I will just chop veggies, a ton of veggies, like cucumbers, celery, carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, and I'll make a huge dip, which is spices, salt, chili, and non-fat yogurt. And that is the only thing that I'll have in front of me, so that at least I'm getting protein from the yogurt and probiotics, and I'm getting raw vegetables. And not only am I getting nutrition, but I'm also getting something that's staving off cravings. So just simple things, nothing fancy, nothing expensive, often can change your quality of life just by having them be the first things you reach for rather than processed packaged foods. So often it's hard to know when one should take a risk and one shouldn't. A friend of mine said to me, if you're scared of it, that's one reason you should do it. And that is good advice generally, but I would say be calculated with your risks. In this day and age with the internet and there being a digital imprint of everything you ever said or did, or wear or didn't wear, you want to be careful. But sometimes it's worth taking the risk if the payoff is big enough. And for me, the point at which my career finally started opening up and doing well was when I just let everything go and I tried not to be what I thought everyone else wanted from me or was telling me they wanted, and just was myself. I think the biggest thing to remember when you're taking a risk or you're nervous or you're feeling overwhelmed, all of those things at once, maybe even, is to take a moment and go somewhere quiet, even if it's just the ladies' bathroom, and be in a stall by yourself and just talk to yourself. You don't have to talk to yourself out loud. You can talk to yourself in your head and just remind yourself why you are doing what you're doing, what the goal or purpose is, and keep that in mind. And then just let it go and do your best. And also, it's important to give yourself permission to fail. It's all right to acknowledge that you are taking a risk, that this may not work out, that you may suck, all of those things which are going through our minds when we're trying to be calm and do our best work. And it's hard, whether it's pitching a show or being a director or, being a second AD or on camera or whatever. Everybody gets nervous. Everybody feels like, oh, why am I doing this? I have no talent. I'm an imposter. People are going to figure me out. I feel all those things all the time still, even on a show that I've been on for 15 years. And it's important just to say that, why not me? Why can't it be me? And if you don't know anything about something, then it's okay to ask too. It's all right not to know every single answer. And there's great humility in asking, so that, even if you did know, at least you get a little bit of, reassurance. And if you didn't know, then you calm your nerves because you ask for the information that you need, and hopefully having the information will calm your nerves down too. You know, when I was growing up, all the magazines, billboards, TV shows, and movies mainly featured fair-skinned Caucasian women, and the ideal of beauty that was ingrained into my head, both, by the way, in America and in India, was that lighter skin is more beautiful. And we certainly know that that is not the case. We know that beauty comes in different shapes and sizes and colors and ages. And I'm so happy now that our notion of beauty has been expanded and broadened out, and that we can all find beauty in different forms. And for me, that's been such a boon. That's been such a revelation. It, you know, took me a really long time to feel good, for example, about the color of my own skin. And I think the beauty industry just has to catch up. We are seeing brands that have beautiful makeup for all different skin tones and types, which we didn't when I was a kid, or a teenager rather. And, you know, one of my proudest moments was when I worked with MAC Cosmetics and developed a line that also, not just only, but also looked beautiful on darker pigmented skin, because I had spent a lifetime looking for those colors in my own career, first as a model, then as an actor, and then certainly on television as a TV host. And so I wanted to create a line where the color on your skin reflected the color in the palette, and that it was showing up beautifully and it wasn't turning because it was on darker skin. And, you know, I was wondering if it would sell well, but it sold really well. In fact, it sold out both in India and in America. And so I think more and more there are opportunities for celebrating beauty and the tools with which to do it. We just have to keep opening our mouths. We just have to keep asking for the things we want, because nobody will give them to us if we don't. The advice that I would give for people trying to break into the industry is find a skill that you can do well, and it can be anything. You know, I thought I was going to be an actor. I thought I was going to be, you know, an actor only. I mean, that's what I studied in school. I was a theater major, but, you know, it turned out that in my case, my particular success came from food, which was totally unexpected to me. So find something you're good at. Find something that you have a specific point of view about, whether it's, you know, writing, directing, acting, producing, whatever it is. Find what your world view is and hone that skill and develop that skill. It may not be exactly what you envisioned for yourself, but perhaps it is the thing that is more likely to bring you the success you want. When I was younger, I used to think that being successful meant being busy. And so I tried to be as busy as I could, because I was raised to find virtue in that, right? To work hard, to do everything you can to get to where you want in life and in your career. But what I've found lately, especially as I've gotten busier, is that being busy doesn't mean you're successful. Being productive and effective means you're successful. And sometimes what that means is to take a break and to stop and to give your body and your mind rest, and give your soul and your psyche a little bit of downtime. And then what happens is that when you do go back to work after that break, whether it's a day, a weekend, whatever, where you don't look at any material, where you don't work at all, I think, you know, those times can often be so productive, because your mind is rested, your soul doesn't take a beating, your spirit also has a chance to soothe itself, and then you come back to whatever you're doing so passionately with a vigor and a clear-headedness that you didn't have before. Thank you so much, WrapWomen, for watching. I hope this has been at least somewhat helpful.